Welcome to Onivia Highlights. These are the best highlights from the LCK Spring 2025.
Actually, as we've got Perfect now making his way into, not going to be able to back now, but also may not survive. As this cannon, that's going to go to the wayside. It's already a disaster as Peter comes in, looks for something here, wants to boot back Perfect, but he didn't pick up turret aggro. Finally, he does, and there's the shock plus. He gets the trade back. It's still a full wave that is going to only go to Beryl, maybe Lucid as well, as they're looking for a bit of an angle. Beryl wishing that he had his flash available still. But still, Arctic Assault going to come in. No heroic charge stun as Doctor's able to flash out. 20 CS lead. And that is sort of a third of the max CS of Ezreal right now. So that's not going too bad.
Going very well for aiming, as we expected. They had a lane swap come through here with that dive, but they were able to match.
Oh, there's the flash forward, and that's a very dead BDD. Nowhere he could go. Sometimes Flash Rune Prison is all you need. So I don't think this is giving us all the information.
Yeah, look at his XP advantage as well, a full level ahead.
Yeah, it's
not just 6 to 5, but a full level, and they'll get the dragon here as well.
And Beryl is also level 6, so it's not that aiming has been left alone, it's that Doctor hasn't been there to pick up CS.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that to do with the fact that she was
punishing a Jace, so the Jace is the option they go for, and then backfiring twice, and that's going to be the whole turret here. First turret as well for Feats of Strength, going over to Dplus, and
she is a bit of a different build option here. Kind of like it though, a bit more of a battle Jace option.
Yeah.
But we'll be doing a bunch of damage to this turret, as Beryl does have access to his steadfast presence, but he can't press it. There's a Magnustorm from Peter as well, as Beryl's in trouble. He's just trying to walk it off. And it's going to work out, and never mind! BDD says, I'm flashing for it, picks that one up. And
taking that Muramana online.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing like Manamune for a while, is what it kind of feels like. But it does stack up once you complete the item pretty quickly. First Drake going to be going over to DK here as Feats of Strength.
264, and I mean, this is just, the spikes are coming.
Ooh, Showmaker, good sidestep on the Wind Becomes Lightning, but I don't know whether that's going to exactly keep him safe. True Shot Barrage going a completely different direction, and that is BDD picking up a second.
Okay.
Nice play from KT.
That's a good angle. You know, you
once again. DK, they were looking to try and trade for something, and Lucid also realizing that they don't quite have as many members up here as they otherwise would. 10 seconds left on Showmaker as Beryl getting rid of the Jhin, but Cuz is still there with the Smite. And he's going to be able to pick up the Eye of the Herald. Chiu, though, answers with an inner turret on the bottom side of the map.
So they get something not unplayable, but it is challenging.
Oh, yeah. And it's only 2,000 gold. Make it 3,000 gold, as the outer turret on the top side does fall down. Able to get himself out. And Showmaker and Beryl pushing here in this top lane. Heroic Charge pushes Perfect towards Showmaker, and Beryl is the one taking the damage. The slow is good from Showmaker, and Beryl with a nice flash, but that's a 1v2. And Perfect is doing really well. KT going to take this opportunity now as aiming says, no, sorry, buddy, you are dead.
I love that. They hard commit to the cross map. You know, the first attempt on the cross map, well, they give Dragon, not so great. Second attempt there with aiming coming over is going to guarantee them the kill and that inner, so a 5th turret best on the Ocean's Dragon, like that KT got. I think fighting for that with a bad position would have been way worse for Dplus. I think they're very happy with this exchange.
And we've got the evolution now for aiming. Does complete that Muramana as Beryl is under a little bit of fire here. The curtains have been called as well as the Magnet Storm pulls him out. Oh, the last bullet, and Doctor's finally on the board. They take down the Poppy, but are they out of the woods? That's the question. Peter's in so much trouble. Arctic Assault going to connect and aiming. Yeah, he's got enough damage. Arcane Shift over and gets the auto into the air, so it's a 1-for-1 trade of both of them. Just move on down. That is going to stop any sort of charge. Should be able to keep this turret alive. Still, only that one turret is perfect. He is in the mist, but there is the ulti from Beryl. Might still be a sacrifice of the Poppy, and there is the first bullet to lock that one down. Cuz, with his ulti, is also really helping him stay alive. Oh, never mind, he's not staying alive at all. Showmaker says no to that. As there's a charge on the Rift Herald, Peter comes back. BDD locks down a kill. Peter does sacrifice himself, but BDD is doing so much damage. Aiming 1 versus 3, is that going to work? I don't know about it.
Herald does not charge, by the way, either, so that turret's still sitting at half health.
Yeah, and of course, because he drove it into a wall, it's not going to be doing any charging, but I think it was good use of it, as that's a solo kill. Perfect just lying on the floor.
Yeah.
Huh. Not quite what Gwen is supposed to be doing. Is Arctic Assault, there's Permafrost as well. As Cuz taking a fair bit of damage. Holds onto the ult button. Eats some honey fruit, he'll be fine.
Right now, all 3 lanes. Baron spawns in 10 seconds, and you can see that Peter is trying to get in there and get some vision. Group up from Cuz as well, as that is where the next fight will likely break out. Dragon taken easily.
Gold.
Wow, look at the discipline.
He doesn't. What is...
Look at the discipline.
My boy's grown up. Showmaker, he might though. There's a Magnet Storm from Peter. Shattering Strike's beautiful. And there's nothing Showmaker can do. He does a fair bit of damage on his way out, but now Lucid is the one in trouble. He's gonna have to try and get an Arctic Assault, but it does not work. He's just held in place, and that is 2 beautiful kills from KT.
Now,
they might be able to get themselves a Baron.
She was going to as well, so yes, you did get the Baron, but it took so long to do so that the value is just arguably even better here for Dplus's Barrel's looking for some shenanigans.
There's a keeper's verdict around here. He's not going to use it. That is bounty gold, though, going over to KT.
You could stop some of these backs, though, and deny them from returning.
2 inhibitors should be the sacrifice here, as there's the keeper's verdict, but Gwen is immune. And that is going to be the kill going over to Cuz, aiming on Vision now, but they do manage to get 2 inhibs for the price of a Baron.
They just really snap called that. The second the pick came through from the party bush, they were like, all right, we just push for the inhibs. That was such a great decisive call from Dplus. Now, let's see if the punish comes through.
Oh, well, shoot. He's done this one before. As perfect. In the mist right now, Showmaker's moved down, does still have the Realm Warp. Man, if they want this fight, they could take it. They can just get into any position that they want, but not...
For KT, it's just a blank piece of paper, it feels like, at this point in time. I mean, there's a death cap for BDD, who once again is the biggest member on KT Rolster. Shocker, I know.
Well, steadfast presence there from Beryl. We do have a Glacial Prison going wide here, and that spells the end of the Poppy, but still, look at this AoE. This is absurd from Showmaker. The needlework not quite doing enough as the teleport from Shiu says, Peter, there is no way out. Cuz is flashing, but Shiu's diving on top of him. Perfect there as well, the flash forward, and there's the Realm Warp to make sure that this Gwen is dead. Aiming not going to be helping out here as Showmaker moves on over, finds the Rune Prison, and should be able to get the combo off. Oh, not quite able to get in there as BDD just kills Aiming. That's what that death cap is for, apparently, and Showmaker, you don't need to tank 2 Nexus turrets. Yeah, buddy, no, that's not what you need to do.
Not necessary to make that move. But look, and Peter can shape this fight if they can get grouped here. She was trying to block BD from the flank. He's going to have to wrap all the way around to the front.
Yeah, remember, this is Ocean Soul as well. Lucid looking for an angle to try and get himself in there. And Showmaker says, well, maybe we'll just win the game instead. Could be the angle, and that is going to be the soul picked up by Lucid. Good smite as Peter pulls him back. He's not going to be able to get away scot-free, as DK might just use this as an opportunity to win the game, but Perfect gets his teleport off and will be able to get himself out of there. Deadly Flourish doesn't connect onto Beryl as the Shock Blaster coming in. That's an aggressive teleport there, Mr. Showmaker, as Cuz is also going to be going down. There are different ways to engage. That is one of them. Not sure whether it's the best, but it's working out. Aiming, going to get his revenge, or at least Beryl is, as he takes the kill onto BDD. Now they're looking to chase, looking for more. Aiming will just take some jungle camps. Bit of information here as Perfect and Peter both get chunked by that one. 4 items completed for the Ezreal is real scary. Beryl, don't know about this position as the rest of KT crash in on top of him, mainly Peter because he has an ability that he's kind of called that. Curtain calls come in. That is a 6th kill for Docdom.
I think Dplus can team fight. They just really don't want to. They just keep threatening these split pushes. The back door
still relatively low. On vision right now, as you can see, there is irremovable vision. And Showmaker now moving over. Captive Audience not going to quite find Aiming there as the Deadly Flourish comes in. They're taking a fair bit of damage. Cuz down to 50%. Teleport in from Shiu as they're looking for the team fight now. Cuz with that ulti running is so durable. And now Shiu dives in. My God, the AoE is absurd. Perfect goes golden, but that means that he just has to watch as the rest of his team dies. It's an ace in trade for Lucid. And DK are going to Realm Warp their way to the base.
You know, a bit of an anticlimactic end for what looked like KT may have been able to finally find some semblance of footing in this game. It was a nice try. It was a good ult from Cuz, but they're unable to secure the Baron. They look for the ensuing team fight, and they do not get it done. And as these waves come through, Dplus will finally, at 33 or 34.5 minutes, end this game. A little bit of happy gaming there towards the early part of the late game. but Dplus still get it done. Beautiful macro game from Lucid and Barrel. To be totally honest, just outclassing KT. So much easier to lock down the Tristana with the Nautilus than it would be with the Leona, even though Leona is super good into Recon and suits the dive style composition that they have.
I think they really wanted to get Aiming's flash or something.
Yeah.
Instead, KT invests nothing when it comes to the summoner spells, as Casting taking a lot of damage here. We'll have Mega Gnar coming up relatively soon as BDD's turned up, and that should be Aiming going down. The Ignite ticking, and Doctorm grabbing first blood in the top lane.
That's kind of peculiar.
Where it needs to be as well.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. They're setting him up for success this time where they abandoned him last time.
Yeah, he's just rocket jumping forward, straight into Barrel, which is suboptimal, I guess. Gets the flash out, though, as Peter goes in with the grand entrance, and BDD, as always, is ready. Great buffer there on the dredge line there from Barrel.
I'd say if they went too far, okay, not quite. I was a little bit worried.
No, top lane is still doing top laner things, as Shiu with this electrocute Aatrox is making Casting's life hell down here on the bottom side. KT have started up the grubs, though. And Showmaker does take a crab for himself.
6 for Lucid.
Rotating over. Yeah, does manage to get that level 6's Barrel. We're going to start up this fight. Let's see whether they can get in there. Charm is going to connect beautifully onto this Tristana, and Showmaker is right there for when he lands. Looking for a double here as the flash comes forward. It's actually the bleed that takes down the Rakan. Both of the bottom lane members are dead, and they only have to sacrifice Barrel. They'll even take more grubs for the trade.
Yeah, a very, very thin margin that Dplus was able to find that success with, but they do pull it off.
Does get himself out, but did have to invest the Buster Shot in that play.
Close call there.
Still, it's a trade of like ult for ult, right? And Barrel's not level 6 yet, so couldn't actually use his.
Exactly, and
still
they get
fine
the
for Doctorm.
Yeah, they get the Dragon off this too. So feeling pretty good about that. Well, it was a pretty long
Now going to start off this Dragon, and I don't know whether DK can actually make their way in time.
Yeah,
got Showmaker rotating down, now teleporting in. They desperately do not want this to happen. Casting, holding onto his teleport for the moment. We need to get Lucid in here to go for the smite, but it is going to be the Vi locking it down. Already, though, Cuz is getting very, very low. Great knockback as Shiu going bananas. Gets over that wall as they take down the Tristana. BDD just trying to create the space for himself to be able to throw around these rocks, and he does do so. The rest of DK getting very low, but you can see 4 versus 3 in the flash forward from this young top laner. Lucid diving on in as BDD does create the room to get him out of there with a seismic shove, but Peter and BDD are running the wrong direction. Shiu umbrally dashing towards this Rakan, and BDD gonna have to ride a wall to get out. That turret shot not quite enough, and he does escape with his life, but that's about it.
Pretty cinematic there from BDD, but initially, like Dplus were going to contest, that they could kind of just sit on the laurels there and be like, BDD puts rocks up, they won't commit, surely.
Yeah.
But Dplus commits to those.
And when they saw Showmaker's teleport, they needed to get Casting teleporting in. But I think he was building Nabar as the Charm is going to connect here on a BDD. He has the Seraph Shield, but he doesn't have the Seismic Shove. And Showmaker, with this extra little portion of Essence, should be able to take down the Talia. Does do so. And now DK with so much extra tempo on this map, they'll be able to get the Herald, but can they get even more? As Casting is at least trying to grab this turret as an answer.
I mean, Showmaker, he gets that kill. He has 10 Dark Seal.
This is going to be feats of strength, though, over to KT as Casting takes this down. So that is important. Upgrading some shoes, that's certainly good.
That's definitely a step in the right direction for them, but I'm starting to worry about that bottom wave out. They actually do get an opportunity here. I didn't think they were going to be able to wrestle that Pry away, and they're now pushing Shiu back.
Well, there's an Arakan up here towards the top side of the map. I actually thought that Showmaker was hitting it for a second there, but I don't think he is. He's now going to look for this top outer turret. They should be able to take that.
He's going to get that and then can teleport in.
Whoa, there's the flash forward. All right, they're looking for Shiu, who does use the flash to get himself out of the way, and there is not enough to actually take down this Aatrox. So that was their shot that they took.
And nobody's doing the Dragon either, so they don't get the Dragon off of this huge advantage they had final-wise.
No, Forbidden Book is now completed here for Showmaker. He'll use that to help take down this outer turret in the mid lane after already securing the top lane. And Cuz is now going to get depth charge. There's the hook to line it up, and the pile in from everyone on DK. They'll take down the jungler. That will be the Dragon over to DK as well. And it's with just this pressure, with the understanding that KT desperately wanted to get this soul point. And DK used that in order to take the rest of the map.
DK uses their tempo incredibly well. They use KT's tempo against them. In all fairness, though, I think KT, instead of trying to Weaver's Wall and chase Shiu, probably could have just started the Dragon and looked for a turn off with the positional advantage they had. There was a razor-thin window for it because Showmaker obviously has teleport, is going to get that top turret, but you're losing the top turret no matter what. But that chase meant that they got nothing, did not get the Dragon, and I mean, this is a disaster here for them.
Situation is the only thing that KT can really lean on here because they're not going to be losing Solas. Cuz diving forward was looking for that barrel angle like you were talking about. He's trying to taxi his way through. The rest of DK unable to collapse in time though, and they just lose their Nautilus. Showmaker level 16 there towards the top side, now looking for a bit of a reset himself as Casting looking for an angle but doesn't get the wallop. Does get the Gnar into the wall though as Shiu. Still, there's a wall coming down, and with the World Ender, I think Shiu should have the movement speed to try and get out. But you can see the rest of KT are now collapsing on the situation.
Showmaker's
is moving in, Yeri, you're exactly right. Can Shiu survive for long enough? That's the question as he gets stunned up by the rocks and will get taken down. 4 members going to be enough to deal with the Aatrox as the rest of DK shove these waves in. And that is more money going to the wayside for KT, but at least they get their mark.
Yeah, they at least
has Mega Gnar now. If they wanted to actually teleport him in, he might even be able to get an angle. He's going back home first, though, as we can see. And this wave pushed all the way towards the top side.
This is dire. This is very dire.
Yeah, Beryl, no Hex Splash. Does have his Flash available, as Cuz is going to find Beryl as the Baron does spawn. Showmaker, though, has found the angle, and Beryl was a bait all along. It's Lucid that takes down the enemy jungler. Shiu could be in trouble here, though, as he does have the shield, but it's not quite enough. Peter going to be taken down as the dog's getting these resets, and Doctorm out of position and destroyed. That should be an Otacon. That should also be a Baron, and DK not messing around in game 2 today.
Yeah, Beryl looked like a juicy target there. They thought that Dplus had backed away further, but they were still close enough to turn on a dime. Shiu shows up with a teleport, and despite dying, absorbs so much pressure, heals so much, shields himself.
Oh, Casting, looking for a bit of an angle, but he just splits the Red Sea here as the hook does come forward. Beryl happy to sacrifice his life as the Baron is going to be taken here by the Nefiri. And they can get themselves over the wall here. Beryl actually can't. Casting could possibly have a bit of an angle. Looks for a boomerang, but does not get it.
I mean, that will deny the Otacon. So small victory here again for KT.
Yeah.
It's always the small ones, sadly for them. But taking the Dragon. That is going to be Hextech's sole point. Yeah. I mean, this is just, I mean, Lucid plays this really well.
Gonna have to try and get in here and go for a steal. Doesn't manage to get it.
Quickly.
Oh man, that's 18.
18
yeah.
He's on right now, and they are going to be able to start this Otacon again.
Oh, Beryl just slightly seen here as control vision is going down.
On the flank.
Shiu on the back of the pit, yeah. As Lucid holds on to the Otacon, keeps him interested. Orb of Deception flying in, Casting not taking too much damage from that one as the full wraparound here from the Aatrox is so scary. Beryl just careens over the top of KT and then finds the flash hook onto BDD. The seismic shove is good, but it's onto the Aatrox and they will just pile in on top of this Tristana. No option at all there as Peter looking to try and get out, but he's not going to. Double already here for aiming, and it's also a double for Shiu. The young player, an absolute monster in this game, cuz nowhere to go. Outside of into the Raptor pit, where Lucid is just going to dive on over. I think they may let Vi live for now, but I don't know whether the same thing can be said for the Nexus.
Showmaker maxing it out, and
then like auto attacks a couple of times, and he's back up to half health. It's all fine. Cleans up the rest of these kills.
I mean, if it was almost any other top laner, maybe you actually punish and you could turn that one around. Peter has the re-engage, but unfortunately not to be, and that's Otacon.
I don't know whether DK necessarily...
quite tough to defend here for KT, but they clear one wave. Here comes another.
Yeah, Aiming does have his arm guard as well, so he can play pretty aggressively here as they do just walk up to it. I think this inner turret's going to have to be given up by KT. Nothing they can really do about that one.
They bought some time. Only a minute left on these Otacon buffs.
Yep. No Baron, remember.
Yeah.
That's worn off a little while ago. As Beryl is moving in, he wants to take down Cuz. Shiu just over the wall, but Anchor is just going to barely go wide. And the rest of DK now find themselves in an awkward spot. Great double knockup from Peter as the recalls are coming through for both support and top lane. A third one now is KT. They're looking for their opportunity. The Weaver's Wall comes in. Lucid's the one that's now in trouble. Has to go on targetable. Gets over the wall.
A big colossal throw, I'd say.
I would agree. Doctorm at 3 items, has a cheeky Vamp Scepter as well, but this is going to be denial. Of course, KT not too worried about a second Hextech, giving them a fair bit of info.
Yeah.
Now, does Peter just go for it? I mean, he could just go for a grand entrance. The hook is just going to barely go wide.
Are they going to make the same mistake twice and engage on that Aatrox? That's the question.
Yeah, Peter avoiding a bunch of skill shots here. Maybe there's an angle as there's the quickness, dives in. They do get the Gnar onto 2. The health bars are just lasting for so long though as Doctor gets knocked up. The Charm is going to connect and they take down the Tristana. Shiu says goodbye to BDD. And Lucid on a nice angle here, dives on top of Cuz, predicts the Vault Breaker and casting nowhere to go. Decent attempt there from KT, but DK, they read it in the end and they should be able to end this game.
Yeah, as you have coined, the wallets are heavy, and unfortunately, even with a miracle engaged there, it is just not enough.
I love it that once again, though, we get proven that Peter's a good addition to this team. Unfortunately, they fell too far behind in that mid-game. DK just looking so much better, and in comparison to their first outing here for the LCK for 2025, this was way cleaner for Dplus Kia. Showmaker going golden, having one of his best RE performances that we